Welcome back to the weekend show. Joining me right now is the Deputy British High Commissioner, Madam Harriet. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Madam Ajala, who is an activist and the voice of the Girl Child Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us in the program.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Tomorrow, August 26th, happens to be Women Equity Day. Today we'll be talking about some issues pertaining to what women are facing globally. First of all, start with you, Madam Ajala. You are an advocate against gender abuse and domestic violence. Can you talk to me about some progress we've been able to make in the past few years in this regard?
Well, yes, on a very large scale, the problem looks as though it cannot be solved. But you know, you cannot just sit down and be discouraged. Even the slightest dent that you make, even if it is one person whose life you change, you have changed, you know, a society. But on the average, the statistics actually show that gender abuse, domestic violence against women, women inequality is actually on the increase.
Wow.
Yes, but that doesn't stop us. If you listen to social media or even follow social commentaries, you'll find that these issues are issues that are on the increase. But that is the reason why we have to increase our energy. You know, we have to put in more energy into advocacy. Do you understand? And somebody actually stopped the killing of twins. So that's not a reason for us to just sit back and decide that it's okay, since the statistics show that it's on the increase. We're doing a lot of work, and yes, our awareness is increasing. My organization is not the only organization that is working with this. There are so many other women and gender activists that are all over the place, and we're doing our very best.
You know, that's quite surprising to me because in the past 2-3 years, I've attended many seminars about women's rights, women's equality, women's equality in the workforce, in the home, everywhere. So that statistic is quite shocking to me because I believe that the awareness is spreading not only in the urban area but also in the rural areas. So, Madam Harriet, can you tell me, from the British High Commission's perspective, what has your role been in being able to decrease the rate of gender inequality in Nigeria specifically?
I will. That's a super question. I'll answer it, but I just want to pause on why it's so important that we all do continue, as Ajala has just said, to chip away at this and to try to achieve progress. No country can achieve its full potential if it leaves 50% of its population behind. Life better for everybody, and Nigeria cannot achieve the economic growth that it ought to. It can't reach its potential if it leaves half its population behind. So that's why it matters so much. Poverty reduces, instability reduces if women and men are equal with each other. So that's why it matters. Then what is the British government doing in Nigeria? So there are some fabulous organisations, individuals who are working on this, and the British High Commission is really, really pleased to be able to partner with many of them. One of the areas where we focus very heavily is on education, particularly education of girls and of young women. Because with the right start in life, with the right quality training, quality education, women are able to get good jobs, they're able to progress their careers, they're able to become active in politics, they're able to take up leadership positions in the country. Most importantly, they're able to have choice, they're able to determine their futures, they are less likely to be seen almost as a possession of the menfolk in the society. So that's a huge area where we focus. Also health, so family planning, child spacing, again giving women choice over how many children they have and when they have those children so that they grow their families in a way that is manageable for them. And again then the outcomes for those families is so much better. Maternal health as well is an area where we put a lot of work through our Department for International Development. We're working, you won't be surprised to hear, on the elections coming up in 2019 in various ways, but particularly relevant for today is the work that we're doing with some inspiring people to try to get more women active in the elections, interested in politics and in how the country is running.
So I'm sure you've been in Nigeria for quite a couple of years now. I'm sure you've heard of the saying that men and women are not I'm sure you've heard of the saying that men and women are not equal. That's a Western ideology. How do you react to that?
Yeah, so I hear this, you know, it's not part of our culture. Well, whose culture, I suppose, would be the question that I ask. A culture needs to belong to everybody. Everybody contributes to the way a country's culture is. And in Nigeria, more than half the population are women. That culture needs to work for them as well. And I suppose these, cultures grow up over centuries, decades, centuries, and they change over that time. And we leave some things behind, and we take some things with us.
I agree.
If you look,
Ajala, sorry to cut you short. You are a Nigerian woman. You have probably been part and parcel. You've witnessed this. You've heard it said to you by both men and women. How do you respond to it?
I always tell them that culture is dynamic. You understand? And like she rightly said, if something is not working for you, you are not a tree. You should change it. Do you understand? You should change the position where you are in. You have to spend a lot of money, energy, time, and every resource possible in order to subjugate women. And we cannot go on like this. You can actually judge any civilization by the status of women and other vulnerable groups. So there's a lot about the status of women that tells in Nigeria as a whole. When we have women who are not empowered economically, we are not educated, we are not assertive, Nigeria is the way it is. So it tells on every facet of the economy like that. They say this inequality matter. I always tell people 5 and 6 are not equal, but that does not mean 5 is inferior to 6. People tend to confuse these two terminologies, inequality and inferiority. You understand? The fact that the woman and the man are not the same does not mean that the woman is inferior to the man. The woman is capable of doing just about everything that a man can do. I think there's no profession in the world where your gender is a factor in making you excel or not, the way I see things and the way it ought to be. Do you understand? When we look forward to the West or we look forward to other countries, we should look at the status of their women. We cannot go beyond wherever we have kept women in Nigeria. Wherever women are, Nigeria is going to stay there. That's the way I see it.
yeah, I agree.
Beautiful. And very lastly, when you hear the word feminist, a lot of people, when I say I'm a feminist, they say, oh, you don't want to cook for your husband or you want to rebel against men. But I tell them, anyone who's a feminist, being a man or a woman, you just believe in the social, economic, and political equality of both sexes. So I remember there was this female political candidate who she was actually seeking to vie for the presidency in 2019. And she went on Twitter and said, oh, no, I don't believe in feminism. My friends who are feminists don't want to cook. They don't want to take care of the house. And she got a lot of backlash for that. So what do you think about the word feminism, especially in this cultural context?
I think it's got some unhelpful connotations. What feminism means is not women are better than men. It's not we all have to burn our bras and refuse to be nice to our husbands. It's about women and men being equal, and it's not a women's agenda. It's good for the whole of society for women and men to be equal.
I would say that, the reason why people tend to see this feminism as something that you should stay away from is because of the concept of militant feminism. And some people think that feminism is about Operation Emasculate Men, Operation Don't Cook for Your Husband, Operation Be Rude. That's not really it. Feminism is the reason why I am here, because I had a feminist mother who was bold enough to tell me to go to school and to be able to stand your own. It is because of feminism that the average Nigerian girl is in school. It is because of feminism that parents pay school fees for their children. Back in those days, the rights that we women enjoy now, they didn't have it. It was unthinkable at a point for some women to go to school. So it is about women attaining their full potential. It's not about refusing to cook. Do you understand? I'm not trying to say that women shouldn't cook, but there's nothing bad about men cooking as well. Nobody dies when people cook. If you want to eat, you should cook. We all like to eat food, don't we? So that's just all about it. Let us just have a system that works for us.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You cannot leave behind a sizable population in your country and expect that you are going to go forward.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yes.
Ajala, Harriet, thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
Thank you.